Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I want to get up on my soapbox and tell you guys how to read more. No, I'm actually just wanting to come with you with some tips and tricks that I've learned throughout the years as a reader. I want to put in a disclaimer to say that everyone is different. Reading is so different for every single person. For some people, a lot of reading is just reading one book a month. Some people can read 10 books a month. Some people can read 20 books a month. And it's all different depending on your schedule, how much you like to read, your endurance, your reading speed. There's so many factors coming into this, but I just wanted to put together just a quick little guide on things that have helped me and how I've been able to read over 100 books in 1 year. So with that, let's get started. So the first thing I have written down here seems so simple and doesn't seem like it's really a trick at all, but just make reading a priority. So whenever I talk to people in person and I tell them how much I read, or I start explaining that I have a YouTube channel where I put together videos about how much I'm reading, people always say, I never have time to read. And that might be true, but I really think what a lot of people are saying is I don't make time to read. And so I have a few things that I think will help you if you truly want to start reading at start reading a higher volume of books, or just start making reading more of a priority than some of the other things that you're dedicating your time to. So the first thing that I would suggest doing is just set a timer on your phone anytime that you are going to mindlessly scroll on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I'm not talking about like actually having conversations with people or connecting with other individuals. I'm talking about the time you spend just literally scrolling through your feed. I want to ask you right now, when you were scrolling through Instagram last night, what pictures did you like? And most likely you can't remember, because those things are just quick fuel for the brain and they're just dumped. I think of that anytime that I catch myself just mindlessly scrolling for like 30 minutes, an hour, and I think about how much reading I could have gotten done in that time. I can't speak for Android users, but I know the iPhone does track how much time you spend on each app. So instead of setting a timer, you can just go onto your settings and see how much time you spent on Instagram and just apply those 5 or 6 hours that you spent on social media to reading a book. And most likely you could finish a book in that time. When I say making reading a priority, I'm not saying don't prioritize it over other important things. I'm just saying cut out the things that don't quite matter as much as picking up a book and learning something new. My second tip is to set a small and obtainable goal, especially when you're first starting out reading. I started reading a lot in 2017. It was the year after I graduated college, and I finally kind of felt like I was over the whole academia thing. I wanted to start reading fiction. So I set my New Year's resolution to read one book a month for the entire year. So I set my Goodreads goal to 12 books, and I believe I read 12 books by the end of February. And that, I know, doesn't happen for everybody, but I think it's a good place to start. If you sit there and say, okay, I want to read one book a month, I want to read one book a week. Similar to the advice people get whenever you're trying to get in shape and you're saying, okay, I'll go to the gym 2 times a week, and you're setting these small goals to make a bigger change in your life. That is something that really helped me when I was first starting out reading, and now it's just become a habit. I read every single day, whether that's an audiobook or a physical book, but it's just something that has been incorporated into my everyday life. So my next tip is to make reading a social activity. So another thing, I keep going back to like diet and weight loss, but I feel like I've seen a lot of these tips floating around over the years, but find a gym buddy is the same thing as saying find a reading buddy, and so join a book club. We have a book club here on my channel, on Mare Read's channel, on Books Past Bedtime's channel, and you can just pick up the book that we're reading collectively each month. It can motivate you into reading a little bit more, because you have to be accountable and show up to the book club each month and have read the book. I mean, you don't necessarily have to read the book to show up, but to get the most out of it, you do need to read. And so that's a good motivator to have other people hold you accountable. Another thing that's not quite so directly social, but joining Goodreads, you can also join Byzans. These are 2 social media apps that can track your reading and are more passively social, so you can see what your friends are also reading. It's a good motivator to see what your friends are liking, because it gives you an opportunity to be able to sit down and discuss books with your friends. So my next tip is to track your reading in a reading journal. So I've recently got into bullet journaling, and it's just so relaxing to sit down at the end of the day and recount everything that I read for the day. And it's really nice to have like a reflexive moment to start seeing how I feel after reading each book. So if you're just now starting to increase the amount of volume that you're reading, I would suggest making a mood journal and writing down how you feel after each reading session. So even if it's just by day or if it's by week, just write down like, I really enjoyed this about reading. I liked reading in this spot. And so you start learning a little bit more about yourself, and you can go back and reflect on those thoughts later down the road. Really start honing in on your own personal taste. I think when I was first reading, I was just reading everything. I was reading contemporary, I was reading romance. I had not so much fantasy because that kind of intimidated me, but it was something that I was able to hone in on, and then you tend to get more 5-star reads. So you're not getting burnt out on reading books that you don't really like. Like, of course, there's always going to be books that you don't like in every genre. It really keeps you motivated to continue your reading. So my last tip that I have is, if you're not already listening to a lot of audiobooks, I highly suggest you try them out. Audiobooks aren't for everybody, and it does take some getting used to. It does take a little bit of practice to be able to sit down and really engage with the story and stay paying attention, because I know me personally, I have a very distracted mind, and so I catch myself a lot drifting off and thinking about other things and not actually engaging in the story. So I would suggest picking up either a thriller or a romance, something with a very linear plot that doesn't take a whole lot of thinking to follow along with. Don't try to pick up like Game of Thrones or something so complex that it's really going to take a lot of energy, because I can guarantee you it's not going to be a good experience, especially when you first start reading books. So I wanted to give a few audiobook app recommendations that I use all the time. So my personal favorite is Libby, also Overdrive. So Overdrive and Libby are two apps that are completely free. You just have to link your library card. It's similar to how the loaning process at a library is handled. So you go on and you wait in line for a book, you request that book, and then whenever it's your turn, you can listen to it. And you usually get 2 weeks to listen to a book, and then it's given to the next person. Or if no one else is in line, you can renew that. So there's those two options. And then if you are willing to pay, I suggest getting Scribd and also Libro FM. Both of these services are $14.99 a month. Scribd is kind of a complex thing to explain, but Scribd advertises itself as a free audiobook app, but it's not necessarily free. It limits you with how much you can listen, but I don't really know the exact amount that you can listen to. I don't know if it's a certain amount of hours, and I don't know if it's amount of titles. I honestly, I don't know. And Libro FM works the exact same way as Audible. But I suggest doing Libro FM because you're not giving your money to Amazon. The money from Libro FM actually goes to a local bookstore of your choice. Tyler's been using Libro FM because he's not really into reading some of the books that we pick for the book club. So in order to participate, it's easier for him to just pick up an audiobook and listen to it on his way to work. And so I suggested switching over to Libro FM because all the money goes to our local bookstore here in Lawrence. So adding audiobooks to your repertoire, I promise you, will skyrocket the amount of reading you do. I am so over people saying audiobooks aren't real read, because either way, you're still consuming a story, and it's just like, stop being such a book snob and let people enjoy what they enjoy. And if they want to only listen to audiobooks, let them do that. It's none of your business. So that was my comprehensive guide on how to read more. If there's any other questions that you guys have, please let me know. I love interacting with you guys down in the comments. If you got this far in the video, please hit that subscribe button. Also hit the like button. Anytime you interact with this video, it helps new people find my channel. And thank you guys for being here today. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.